Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So if you're a recruiter, this video is made specifically for you. I think the world of recruiting right now is going through a lot of changes with automation and AI and all that jazz. Larger companies are doing a bunch of things that make people jump through several hoops before they actually talk to a human being, which will drive better candidates elsewhere. And smaller companies are doing a bunch of tests through Indeed and LinkedIn and things like that that leave people feeling a little dissuaded, motivated to do something else as well. So if you're a recruiter and you want to build a business that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, spend the next 10 or 15 minutes taking notes and listen to what I have here. I've worked in recruiting as a leader for companies for decades, and I can tell you nothing is as important or as expensive as your people, and nothing is a greater risk than hiring the wrong people. So recruiting is a very specific and very important piece of what all organizations do daily. And from an operational standpoint, that resume, that history, that work history, it matters. So a lot of times these days they're telling you just give people a chance, hire for attitude, etc., etc. I do believe that you hire for attitude, but with that attitude needs to be some experience. So let's go back to the top here and just say, as a recruiter, if you're just starting out, or if you're a professional recruiter that's maybe thinking on going into business for yourself or working for a firm where you'll be able to work remotely and have some more freedom and work-life balance, being a recruiter is an opportunity that could give you options that are very attractive. So let's take some time to go through this and talk about what you should be doing. No matter where you're at in the world of recruiting, you can stop and do these things now to make you more effective in your business. And if you're new, or if you're in college, or if you're a young person that's looking to find a career that could give you freedom and pay you very well, be very lucrative and around one industry or around multiple industries. So as a recruiter, you don't have to specialize, but if you do specialize in certain industries, you'll have greater opportunity within those industries. So we'll get into that now. We're going to talk about number one, building your foundation. So when you're starting to a position as a recruiter, you're going to start in a role that's most likely going to be an hourly role. Could be part-time. Could be commission only. There are 1099 recruiting roles that if you're not getting options that are a W-2 job, maybe the opportunity for you is to take a contract role and learn how to be a recruiter and do those things. You may have to take another job on the side and build this career. So the foundation is where we're talking about starting. So the first suggestion I would have to build a proper foundation for a recruiter that wants to build this into a $100,000 or more a year career, that's number one, build your foundation. So we'll use LinkedIn as the opportunity. You take LinkedIn and you build your profile as a professional recruiter on there. Put your resume, put your work history, but if you really want to focus around that recruiter role, you want to start going ahead and getting certifications. You can get some online over Google, and you can get some other certifications locally at your local community colleges and at your local state schools. So find out what certifications are available and start getting those certifications as you work towards degrees or whatever that is you may want to pursue. But building this business doesn't require specific degrees. It requires specific talents in building relationships and sustaining relationships. So number one is build your foundation. Here's my suggestion. This is gold mine number one for you if you want to be a career recruiter. Have a LinkedIn profile and build that profile. When you talk to candidates of quality, link with those candidates on LinkedIn, or you can use Facebook or some other social media where you link in with those people. You're not going to remember who they are. You're going to be talking to so many people as a recruiter for different positions that there's no way you can remember if someone had a good resume or a bad resume, or if they interviewed well or not. So my suggestion would be that you link in and you link with the people that are those positive people that have a great attitude, that have a good resume, that have strong work history, and that are professionally relevant and professionally accurate. Because as a recruiter, your job is to give the best candidate, the most qualified candidate, the opportunity to interview with those that make the decisions on hiring. So also you want to get a pattern of selling those people too, because as a recruiter, once you figure out what's right for the role, you want to be able to sell that to the hiring manager. So have a hot list of 5 things that you know about your hiring managers. So we'll talk about that as step number 8. So you know what you're trying to do for specific managers. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Building your foundation. So have a LinkedIn profile, link to the people that you think should be successful candidates, link to other recruiters that have been assets to you, and link to people that are motivational to you. Each day, every week, you want to share 3 different types of posts on your LinkedIn to build your personality and build your credibility as a recruiter and someone that does that in the professional world. Number 1 is you want to post something that is about resume and tips on resumes every single week as a recruiter. You want to have that posted to that LinkedIn profile. It can be something that you wrote yourself. It can be something like this, a few points video, or it can be an article that you saw from Wall Street Journal or some reputable place. And remember, keep politics out of what you're doing. No matter what you believe, the places you should be sharing and those things should be grounded in a sensible type situation where you're not going to turn anyone off. Remember, as a recruiter, there's going to be all different personality types that you're going to have to help get to the job, but there's going to be all those different personality types that are going to serve different roles better. So you want to come across and be able to support and care for each one of those individuals, no matter what their background is or where they came from. So number 1 that you want to share on that profile is resume tips. You want to do that once a week. Resume tips, tips on improving resumes, strong words to use in resumes, words not to use in resumes, etc., etc. The second suggestion around that is you want to post interview tips. How do you make eye contact? What do you say? Where do you pause? How do you take time? Different interview tips from posts, something that you wrote or something that you got from a story. A story sometimes can give a lot of suggestions around appropriate content where other people might not pick it up quicker. And then the last is recruiting tips. Tell other recruiters how to recruit, because if you build a business in the future and you're linking with other recruiters, you can have that influence in the future. Maybe they'll work with you, maybe you'll work together in the future, and you'll have that credibility as being that professional recruiter. So there's 3 tips around what you could do to build your foundation. Next is never burn a bridge. So you want to connect, and LinkedIn, that's one of the suggestions. But as a recruiter, there's only so many quality people in the world. I'll say that again. There's only so many quality people in the world. So, depending on what you're recruiting for, let's say it's physicians, and let's narrow that down. Let's say it's pediatricians. There's only so many pediatricians in the world, right? So all these other doctors get all these other specializations, from nephrology to, brain surgery to whatever it may be. If you're working in a specific model for a specific job, there are only so many people that can qualify for those roles. You don't want to ever burn bridges. So connect with those people. Let them know how much you care. I say all the time, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, which is why I'm giving this information out for free here on this channel. You want to take care of people, and by doing that, they will want to know you more and know you better. So never burn a bridge. Contact with them, get an email address, a phone number, have a contact list of these people that you've contacted. That's why I suggest LinkedIn and social media, because then it's appropriate to maintain a relationship for a very long time, and it doesn't break any rules from a corporate standpoint. So quality of people that you meet, link in with them. And what I meant to say earlier is, you only want to link in with the quality, because you don't want to be confused later on and have someone that had some dishonesty in their presentation or did something unethical, etc. You don't want that in your profile. You don't want that in your collection of assets. They may not be a fit. There's the other thing too about this candidate. If you deal with a candidate today, they may not be a fit for the role that you have right now, but they may be a great fit for one you have 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now. So if you have that candidate in that, you always have the opportunity to reach out to them. And it's extremely important that you communicate effectively and you don't just go away. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. So number 1 is build your foundation. Number 2 is never burn a bridge. Number 3 is kill them with kindness. So you want to do some things. I've seen some people that were very effective. They took a birthday list, and every birthday you just got a 2-line happy birthday email. It was very, very nice that those people did that professionally. I had a recruiter do that with me one time, and ultimately one time took a role with that recruiter. Just because they were top of mind. They were the first person I thought of when it came to looking at something else, because they kept constant communication. They were kind. You want to be kind. You want to show how much you care, and you want to stay in communication as often as you can. The next piece is, number 4, is post the roles that you're recruiting for often on your LinkedIn profile. Be that professional that people look to. So when they're thinking, man, I'm really tired of working here, or I need to make a change, or I need to move somewhere to support family or kids or something else. If you're that professional in their profile that's always recruiting for positions, you're posting those positions, they may reach out to you. You may come in one day and you don't have a candidate for role, but you might have a direct message from somebody that's on your LinkedIn that's asking you specifically about a role that you've posted that you talked to years ago, and they may be a primary candidate for that role. So post those things on LinkedIn. Use these social medias to support you. Use your marketing and your networking to support you. So it doesn't have to be LinkedIn. It could be an email list or a newsletter that you send out too. Those are two other options. And ultimately, if you build a professional profile on LinkedIn and you do that for a decade, and then you have enough names to start a newsletter, you can really, really expedite your earnings very quickly by having something that's that successful with people who are in different job markets. And the thing that's beautiful about LinkedIn is as people move, and they all do, as they move locations geographically, as they move jobs, as they move roles, as they climb in the roles, you end up having this network of diverse people across wide areas that are doing many different things that respect you and know your name. That's a great way to properly network and use that touch. So the next one is always follow up. Number 5 is always follow up. Never ghost a candidate. It's become a fad lately where people get into interviews, especially final interviews, and they do a final interview with a decision maker, a key decision maker, maybe for a very high paying role, and they never get a call back. This ghosting is a pathetic way to treat a human being. If you want to teach somebody that you don't give a care about them at all, that's the best way to do it. And if you want to burn a bridge, that's the best way to do it. Remember, a pool of adequate candidates and qualified candidates in a geographical area is limited, right? I live in Texas. The pool here gets bigger every day. More people are moving to Dallas and Houston every single day than any other time of the year. Those cities are covered up, so they're spreading out in Texas to look at jobs elsewhere. So we have a candidate pool that's very strong growing every day. That may not be the case where you are, and geographically that limitation will show you that there's very few people for there. So treat people right, never ghost a candidate. If you're a recruiter and you work for a company that does that practice often, then take it upon yourself to reach out to those people and build that relationship on LinkedIn, or send them an email, or send them something like that so it's appropriate and professional. There are higher-ups that are decision makers in companies that do not have the professional qualities that are required for the roles that they fill. That's just a common thing. You're going to get to environments that are extremely toxic because people get promoted, and that is what it is. And ultimately, they will go away sooner or later, but it may take a decade. So companies have a lot of poison within them because of that. So never ghost a proper candidate. Always circle back up and say, hey, this is what went right. This is what went wrong. We really appreciate you. And there are some legalities to that. So maybe you can't tell them that, but you can reach out and say, hey, look, I'm sorry this didn't work out. I really appreciate your time. If you don't mind, I'm going to keep your resume in case something comes up in the future that I may think you're a great fit for. Will you be okay with that? And then you start a much kinder relationship type consideration where you're showing some care and you're using some kindness. So always follow up is number 5. Number 6, I've mentioned it multiple times. There's a limited supply of quality candidates. With the way technology is going, ultimately over the next 20 years, a lot of the jobs that there are today will be replaced by technology. People will not have the work that they have currently. So the jobs that stay the same and do require manpower, you're going to want to have a better grip of those people as a professional recruiter that's doing this as a career. So there's a limited supply of quality candidates. Do not burn those bridges. Keep those contacts relevant. Reach out, post often. As you're doing that, you set yourself aside. If you follow these steps, that will do that. So let's talk about the 7th step. Keep in touch often. And do it in a way that you're able to, once a quarter, you send an email to everyone on your list. You may have 3,000 people in your LinkedIn at this point. Send an email to everyone. Hey, I hope everyone has a great whatever. Go through it and do that. Stay in constant contact so they don't forget who you are. So sometimes with social media, it will stop sharing your post with people after time if you don't engage. So make sure that you're doing that to reach out at regular intervals. That's number 7, reach out at regular intervals so your name stays current. And have right there on your role that you're a recruiter, you're a professional recruiter, and you're recruiting all the time. And if someone's looking, ask them in that top line on your information, ask them to reach out to you and give them 2 or 3 different ways to do so. And here's number 8. Know your hiring managers. Wherever you are, know what their hot lists are and what their hot buttons are. If you can do that, then you can take a candidate that is professionally appropriate to the role, And you can know those points that these people are looking for. And you can hit all those hot points in your summary of this candidate. You can send that over in writing so they have that look at when they're talking to the candidate. They have that in the resume to look at when they're talking to the candidate. When they do that, they can ask questions that guide the candidate to those points that you've mentioned, because the candidate's the one who gave them to you in the first place. And it makes the interview seem much more natural, and it makes the candidate stand out more, because not only do they feel that they have these qualities, they've just verified them through what they were doing. So that's number 8. If you do these 8 things and you do that with regularity and you do it with sincerity, you can build a business that can earn you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as a recruiter, placing people either contract-wise or working for a big organization. I hope this video is useful to you. I really hope that it gets you to where you want to go in the recruiting business. I think recruiting is a very beautiful thing because it takes people and it matches them with jobs where they can feel fulfilled and they can feel like they're making a difference. So it's an extremely important role. And I hope this is useful to be beneficial to sustaining you in that role for the future. I'm Ben. I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe. Be good.